All right, so we have defined ring is Jacobson, and remember we have defined it very geometric way, and this gives us a definition of a Jacobson ring. So namely, in the spectrum, every locally closed point is a closed point. So when you convert into algebra, that became whether every prime ideal is intersection of maximal ideals. And this ring is called a Jacobson ring. Now the next one, I have not proved yet the strong form of Hilbert-Schnoor cylinders. The next pages contain that. And you see it's very easy. In the way I have set up the notation and definitions, the things are very easy. More effort on your side should go in understanding the notation and definitions correctly and examples. And as you see, the theorems and corollaries will come out very easily. And don't think that two things, the notation is very complicated. No, it is not. It is very, very suggestive and precisely set up. Because of that, many things have become clearer. And when I browse through your writing, I am still not very happy because you write too much. And the more you write, the more you have a chance of making errors. So I would say, please follow the lectures. As I said last time also, don't be hurry in attempting the assignments immediately. You have to master the lecture and then you will see the effect. All right. So what is the corollary one? Oh, sorry. Corollary one. Where is corollary? Corollary one. If A is the arbitrary commutative ring, then look at the set, subset, all those points which are locally closed in spectrum. This is subset of the spectrum, and I want to say it is a dense in spectrum. Dense means every open set should intersect with that, or a closure is the whole thing. So this is immediate from the observation that if you take look at the basic open sets, DFs, they are spectrum of this localized ring. And therefore, the maximal ideals in this, they will correspond to the closed points here. And these are locally closed points in the spectrum because they precisely DF will be just. So it is locally closed means it is open in the closure. See, so more things I have planned. I wanted to write in the supplements on this. Only topological facts, but I didn't do it because I didn't want to put a burden further. Therefore, I have not uploaded the supplement 1 and supplementary exercises also. Corollary 2, if you have a finite type algebra or
Sir?
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
sir, can you say about that why, whether it is an open set or something?
What is why? See,
that
also somebody asked me a question. What is locally closed? Locally closed means a singleton X is called locally closed if it is open in the closure.
Yeah.
That is the equivalent definition. Locally closed by definition means it's an intersection of an open set with a closed set.
Yes.
And this definition is equivalent to saying that it is open in its closure.
Yes, yes.
It is very simple to check.
Yeah.
Okay, so from that, if you use that, then it will follow easily. So corollary 2, it is it's dense if and only if nil radical equal to Jacobson radical. This also we have seen earlier. It also follows from corollary 5 and corollary 1 above, and corollary 5 you want to see it. Corollary 5 here. X is closed. That is equal. For finite type algebra, these two conditions are equivalent: close and locally close. And we have seen here somewhere now. You please go through this. All right. So that is not so big deal. Corollary 3, algebra of finite type, then spectrum, dimension of the spectrum equal to dimension of the maximal spectrum. Because we just have seen that the spectrum, maximal spectrum is dense. So if you look at the definition of a Krull dimension of a topological space, From that, it is also clear that dimension of topological space and dimension of the dense subset are same. That is again will immediately follow from the definition. So moreover, if K is algebraically closed, then this K spectrum is dense in spectrum, and therefore dimension of the K spectrum equal to dimension of the spectrum. See, all these statements I am recording here because it will give us a feeling that things are not so bad. And if you remember the desirable properties that we have stated, that dimension should satisfy. So these are the properties. So the geometric feeling we will get from the pictures, which are K spectrum, and therefore once it is dense, therefore dimensions are same. So this is also immediate from this equality, because K is algebraically closed, and therefore closure here is closure here, and closure here is equal to the spectrum. All right. So now you see this is Hilbert-Knudsen. This is the main theorem of zeros, and this is also known as strong geometric form. So suppose K is algebraically closed. For example, the interesting examples of algebraically closed field for us are K equal to C, K equal to Q bar, algebraic closure of Q, K equal to QP bar, where P is a prime and QP denotes the field of p-adic numbers and the algebraic closure of that, or capital K equal to the algebraic closure of the rational function field over some small K is the field again, in n variables. So these are the only interesting cases for us. All right. So what is the statement? K algebra of finite type. K is algebraically closed. Then suppose I have a closed set in the spectrum of A. Then V intersection K spectrum is a dense subset of K. That means this closure of this equal to V. That is the definition of dense. This is purely I have stated in a statement which is a geometry. And algebraically what it means, if you have an A ideal in A, then I of Vk of A equal to the radical ideal of A. Why that? Because if this V is closed means it is V of A, and we are taking this intersection, that is Vk of A, and then we are taking the closure, but that is the ideal I, and the other side is, so it's root of A. Now let us see the proof. So I am writing the proof mixed. If A is an ideal in A, then V equal to V of A, that is because it's a closed set, which is then homeomorphic to the spectrum of the residue class ring. This we have seen. Then this intersection, the K rational points of V, that is K spectrum of this. This is again by identification. These are just the definitions and the identifications we made. They are so nice definitions. And this one is dense in this by earlier corollary, but this is this. But this precisely means this equality. And where are we using K algebraically closed? That is this equality. The intersection of all maximal, all points, maximal ideal corresponds to the points. That is same thing as the maximal ideals, the Jacobson radical of this, because each one of them, all the maximal ideals do occur here because K is algebraically closed. That is why this equality. The rest is just the definitions correctly. So that is it. Of course, one can prove it algebraically also, and you will see it is proved in Atiyah-MacDonald. He didn't use this language. All right, but this language, why I want to insist to use it, because for the long run and the motivational purpose, and also the drawing pictures. So you have intuition, you get a feeling that something is true, and then you try to prove it more rigorously, and then you will realize you will need commutative algebra. That is why commutative algebra has become very important. All right. Now, one more corollary. This corollary is also very interesting. If you have an algebraically closed field and K is algebra of finite type, then the map, what is the map? I am defining a map from closed subsets of the K spectrum to the closed subsets in the spectrum. What is the map? Take V. V is a closed subset. That means what? V is points in K power n or maximal ideals in the ring A, where the residue class algebra is K. The residue field is K. That is precisely the K spectrum. And the closed subset there. So they are given by Vk of an ideal A, where A is an ideal in this capital A. And now you take the closure of V in the spectrum. This is a bigger topological space. This is a smaller one. So we are taking the closure in a bigger topological space. This map is bijective. That is because K is algebraically closed. And this immediately follows from the distribution class. This again, there is nothing new, no new ideas are needed except earlier mastering over the earlier statements and notation examples. Now remark here, if you drop this assumption K is algebraically closed, what happens? That is, these examples will tell you. Moreover, these examples are interesting their own rights. So in general, the above map, when K is not algebraically closed, for example, K is real numbers, I am writing examples here why this map is not surjective. So for example, if you take A equal to the spectrum, I want to hide this so that I can see it better. How do I do that? Okay, let it go. So A is Rx, R polynomial in one variable, and F is the variable F, a variable X, and A localized at F is this R algebra then, Rxy mod xy minus 1. So in the picture wise, it is this axis. This is the R spectrum. They are precisely all maximal ideals corresponding to the real points on this axis. That is R spectrum of this. So first I am doing that, then the more general part you read it later. So R spectrum of A is R, here also same. And what is R spectrum of A localized at F? Those are all those points A, B here. So this is the R spectrum, that is the hyperbola.
Sir, in that remark second line, if A is equal to R of X, F is equal to X minus Y.
No, Y X minus Y, this is F.
No, okay.
This is F. So when I invert F, Rxy mod ideal generated by xy minus 1 is precisely this ring AF.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So I also want to be good. You gave me an opportunity to make a remark. I have realized that your knowledge from Atiyah MacDonald early chapter is not sound. And that is why probably you are getting difficulties. For example, you make sure that this is clear to you. This AF, A localized at F, is precisely this ring. R, xy in two variables modulo the ideal generated by xy minus 1. You see here, we have inverted x because we have gone mod the relation xy minus 1. And that is, therefore, by universal property of the localization, this is equality. So when I draw the picture of R spectrum of this AF, that is a hyperbola because they are precisely the points in the plane so that this equation is satisfied. And you are very well aware that those are precisely, that is precisely the hyperbola. So that is this. If I would have taken this example, more general example, F is this, then the picture will be on the next page. So anyway, first let us read this R spectrum of this, and what is R spectrum of AF now? That is irreducible with respect to the Zariski topology, but not even connected with respect to the usual topology in R2. You see it picture. So therefore, it cannot be surjective in this case. In the other case, this example is written here.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, actually in that remark, we are dealing with two different rings, but
Yes,
in the
yes. That's why I said, honestly, I said,
yes.
first you take this example, first, second line.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
when you finish with that, then you read this more generally.
Okay.
Because in the example, I have taken different F now. So the way you should read these notes, first read this example completely, get convinced, and then go to the other example and the picture of that.
Yes.
Okay, so that's it. And I don't want to spend more time on this. So it is very self-explanatory. So please go through it.
Okay, sir.
So next example is if we have an arbitrary field, then you take this same map and I want to describe the image of this map. And that is why I have written here something to do something. And finally, I have written 3-4 lines which are easy to read, whatever that. And then ultimately, I wrote in a red. And then said if K is a finite field, these are precisely something, something, and that is an exercise. I will write this in my next assignment, possibly. All right. So that will finish the lecture 3 here. Now, remember, we have so many desires to prove facts about dimension. At least here we have noted that the dimension of a finite type algebra over a field is finite. That will follow from the that will follow at once we prove the polynomial ring over a field in n variables have dimension n. Because normalization lemma will tell us if you have a finite type algebra over a field, then it is integral over a polynomial ring in finitely many variables, and therefore integral extension dimensions are equal. Therefore, and the polynomial ring have the dimension n. Therefore, that will follow. So now I am making some definitions again, which will help us to understand dimension of a spectrum in general. And we have no clue whether it is finite or not in general. And at least we know now the dimension of a finite type algebra over a field is finite. And what is that number actually I want to describe in the next few pages. So, and always my definition will start from a topological definition, and then we will specialize this definition to the spectrum of a ring A with a Zariski topology. That will always be our terminology. That will always be our setup. First, I will, simply because if you see the history, immediately after the set theory was developed, the topology have come up. So topology was the first. Then only Krull defined a Krull dimension. And his always motivation came from topology. And from time to time, I will recall this. So what is the codimension of a closed irreducible? So suppose X is a topological space and Y is a closed irreducible subset of X. Then the codimension of Y in X. So when the X is fixed, then I will drop that from the notation. Otherwise, we will write like this. This is supremum of R, so that there exists a chain of closed irreducible subsets in X, which starts with Y and goes on. And we don't know whether such chains are finitely many. Therefore, we should really don't write max, but you have to write the sup for obvious reasons. So this sup can be a natural number, or it can be -1, or it can be infinity. And as I kept saying last time also, this infinity includes, we are not distinguishing between countable, uncountable, and so on. So codimension of a now this was for irreducible close. Now if I have arbitrary close, then I take the infimum over codimension of all irreducible components of Y. That is the codimension of arbitrary closed set. For example, in this definition, what will be codimension of an empty set? It will be infinity, because there is no chain. And supremum of an empty set, if you see, it should be infinity, minus infinity. Because think about it. So this definition should give infimum of an empty set is what? That is the point. All right. So if all irreducible components of Y have the same codimension, there is no reason that all these codimensions are same. They may be different. If that happens, then we call Y to be purely M codimensional. It's all of them have same codimension M, and therefore it will be codimensional. Note that if Y is non-empty close, then dimension plus codimension will be less equal to dimension. This is very clear because we can put down the take the chain dimension, take the arbitrary chain contained inside the Y of closed irreducible subsets, and starting from Y, when Y is irreducible, otherwise irreducible component, and if you put them together, you will get a chain of closed irreducible subsets in ambient space. Therefore, it will give you a chain here as much as this length, and so then taking the supremum over, then you will get this inequality. All right. Now this proposition is just a collection of definitions. Put it. Now we have applied to the Zariski topology in the spectrum. Now topological space is spectrum. X is spectrum of A, and we are just applying this definition, and we are applying our dictionary, algebra dictionary, to get back our statements in the ring and prime ideals. So dimension A is dimension of the spectrum. This equality is just a way we have defined, and this is the supremum of.
Sir, hello, sir.
Yes.
In the previous slide,
Yes.
when the equality can occur,
Where which equality?
that
This is serious. I will come back to this at the end.
okay,
This is, you are asking when is the equality here?
yes,
There are, you will see at the end example.
okay, sir.
All right. So dimension of the, so this is the supremum of the irreducible components of the spectrum, and they correspond to the minimal primes. Therefore, they are dimensions of A by P, where P is a minimal prime. If S is a multiplicatively closed set, then the dimension here of S inverse A is smaller or equal to dimension A. That is because we know the prime ideal correspondence between the ring A and the ring S inverse A. Codimension of this closed set, this is also irreducible and closed. This is precisely the dimension of the local ring. And this is precisely the dimension of the spectrum of A localized at P. These are just simple translation from the definition, topology definition, to this particular topology. Dimension of the V of A is same as dimension of the ring this, because V of A we have identified with the spectrum of A by A, and the dimensions are the equal. So codimension of this equal to codimension of the irreducible components of V of A, but they are precisely the minimal prime ideals over A. And that is infimum of what is the codimension of this. This is just put from this third, that is this. So this is algebraic definitions. If you see completely algebraic books, they will never mention V and spectrum and all that. They will just simply write this. All right. If I have an ideal A, then the codimension of VA is also called codimension, or it is called also an height. So therefore, by definition, height is what? Supremum of all those R, so that there is a chain where it ends at P. That is the height. Because things have become reverse. Therefore, the chain will become the other way. No, so we chain is this. See this one, it starts at y, but this will end at y. So that's why you have to keep in mind that the inclusions get reversed. All right, so that is, and these are the consequences which are immediate from the earlier writing. For example, height p equal to dimension of A localized at p, height A equal to infimum of all those height p's where p is here in the V of A. If you have a multiplicatively closed set, then height p will not change when you go to localization, when p doesn't intersect S. Dimension A equal to supremum of the localizations of A localized at p, which are precisely the height m, and finally height A plus dimension A by A is less equal to A. So this height is also called codimension. That's it. And I would again request, if you don't adapt to this new setting up, you will have difficulty in writing the solutions of the exercises. Not because they are difficult, but probably because you are not used to it. And therefore, first thing, you have to get used to the lecture, notation, definitions, examples. And then as you see, remaining thing will be so easy. All right. So now it starts actually here. So this is what, I don't know who asked me this question just now. So this is what it will show you. It's not in general true that inequality. It's not equality in general. So this also I will quickly go through it because there is a lot of checking should be done here, but there's simple checking. So for example, if you have a field K and A is this ring, first you localize at the prime ideal X and then take the polynomial Y. This is my ring A. And note that this ring is not same as Kxy localized at the prime ideal X. Simply because Y is not a unit here, but Y will get a unit here because it is not in the prime ideal X.
Yes, yeah, okay, sir. Yes.
Okay, so this A is an integral domain. That is clear because it's a polynomial ring over an integral domain. Actually, this argument should work for any this ring. Instead of Kx localized at X, any discrete valuation ring, it will work. Those who know discrete valuation. Otherwise, work with this ring. So first again note that this ring, if you take the polynomial xy minus 1 in the ring A and go mod that, this is same thing as Kx localized at X and inverting X. The same trick. This is nothing but the rational function field in one variable over K, which is the quotient field of the polynomial ring Kx. Therefore, this ideal is a maximal ideal. And 0 is a prime ideal because it's integral domain. Therefore, this is a maximal chain in this. This needs a little bit checking that there is no prime ideal in between. Maximal means you cannot improve further. You cannot go down here. You cannot go up here. And in between also you cannot insert. That will easily follow from the fact that if you look at this ring A, this is a UFD. Because this is a polynomial ring over a PID. PID is a UFD, and polynomial ring over a UFD is a UFD. This is a Gauss theorem. So that will follow from that. It will follow this is a maximal chain. So codimension of this will be equal to height, which will be equal to 1. Because this is maximal height. Yes, please. Yes, who is talking? Please put off your microphone if you are not concerned with this lecture. All right. So dimension of the ring is a priori it is bigger equal to 2 because we have a chain 0 contained in Y. Y is the prime ideal here. It's proper, and this is a maximal ideal here. So it's proper. So there is a chain of length at least 2. So the dimension is at least 2. But you can check it is actually 2. That will also follow from what we will do later. So therefore, a codimension 1 prime ideal, namely this, in a 2-dimensional ring this A, that is actually dimension is 0 because that is a maximal ideal. Because that is a maximal ideal. So the funny thing happens. So the codimension 1 has a dimension 0. Now, you see here, these are the chains this way. They are all maximal chains. You cannot improve them. This is also, this way you get 1, this way you get 2. So as a result, you will get a contradiction. You will get a strict inequality in that formula about the codimension. So it's not really a codimension in that sense. So this is a pathology, but this is in general case. General case, and you see here, the reason is this base ring here is not a finite type algebra. So therefore things go wrong in a general ring, commutative rings. All right. And this has actually more deeper connection. Okay, so that I will tell you quickly. I would not like to read this. I would suggest you read it at home. We will come back to this discussion if you are interested. Otherwise, you can skip this because this concern, where do this come from? This motivation come from actually complex several variables, which is called Hartog's lemma. So that analog is algebraic analog is we will see in the assignments.
So, sir, you were saying about that extension problem, that Hartog's lemma.
Yes.
When we can extend the function to.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. That has an algebraic analog.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is for the normal domains.
Yes, sir. Something called codimension 2 something. There is a relation.
So that precisely is written here, but I will write more in the supplements. All right. So now let us get back to our mainstream. That the first thing I want to prove is polynomial ring over a field has dimension n in n variables. This was one of the desires of the dimension. In particular, dimension of the spectrum of the this should be square bracket here. That is equal to the, again I have forgotten the word dimension here, dimension of the maximal spectrum of the polynomial ring. That is also equal to dimension of k power n. This is again with the Zariski topology, which is equal to n. That is why I made so much fuss about the closure and all that, which were mentioned during this Hilbert-Null sentence. All right, before that. So first of all, one inequality is clear. I have a chain of prime ideals of length n, namely 0, ideal generated by x1, ideal generated by x1, x2, x1, xn. They are all prime ideals simply because when you go mod them, you get again a polynomial ring, which is a domain, therefore they are prime ideals. And therefore, the dimension of the polynomial ring in n variables over a field k is at least 10. And now I want to use induction to prove that the other inequality. And that will prove it is equality here. And for that, we will use normalization lemma. So put R is this polynomial ring. So it's a finite type K algebra. It's not finite algebra, but it's finite type. And take arbitrary chain of prime ideals. This chain is of length R. It's arbitrary chain. And what is that we want to prove? This R should be less equal to n. If you prove, then the soup will be less equal to this n. Because R is, for any chain, that R is bounded by n. If we prove that, then that will fall. So our aim is to prove this small r is less equal to n. That is this here. I have proved it here at the end, the last line. Okay, why that? So take the chain and go modulo this P1. P1 is a non-zero prime ideal. So A is an integral domain. And these small xi's are the images of capital Xi's in A. So they are algebraically dependent over K. Why? Because this P1 is non-zero. Therefore, it has a non-zero polynomial in that F. And this F, when I substitute small x1 to xn, that will be 0. Because you are reading mod P1, F is in P1. So when this will be 0 in A. So therefore, these x1 to xn are algebraically dependent over K. Therefore, normalization lemma, if you remember, it says that I apply to this finite type algebra A, there exists Z1 to Zm with m less than n. You see, this is the in particular part there. If they were algebraically dependent, then though that m was smaller than that number n. That you can check there. Therefore, and this is integral extension, and these Z1 to Zm are algebraically independent. So therefore, this because this integral extension dimensions are equal, and this dimension equal to m because m is strictly smaller than n, and we are applying induction. So induction hypothesis will tell you this equality here. And therefore, r minus 1, which is less equal to dimension A, which is equal to m, which is strictly less than n, therefore r is strictly. All right. It's clear now? This r minus 1 is less equal to dimension A because there is a chain of length r minus 1 in A. Namely, you start here, 0 to here. So therefore, this, on the other hand, dimension A equal to dimension of this polynomial ring, which is m, because m is strictly smaller than n by induction hypothesis. Therefore, this equality will give you r is at most n, and therefore dimension r is smaller or equal to n, and then we are done. Shall I go on?
Oh, yes, sir.
Shall I go on or not?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay, fine. Corollary, immediate corollary is, if you have a field and a polynomial, non-constant polynomial, then the hypersurface ring, that is, if you go mod that f, it's called a hypersurface ring. This ring has dimension exactly 1 less. Why that? Remember the tilting axis lemma, what does it say? That says that if I have any non-constant polynomial in n variables, I can make it monic in one of the variables. So, therefore, I can make that f to be monic in xn with coefficients in the remaining variables. So, therefore, this ring is integral over this because the integral equation of xn is precisely this f. Therefore, the dimension of this ring will be equal to dimension of the polynomial ring in n minus 1 variables, 1 less. And we have just proved this dimension is n minus 1, the number of variables. Therefore, by the above proposition, this equality follows. So now you see, you should go back and check in the first lecture what were our desirable properties. And now many of them we are proving actually. So, example, A is a ring, then actually dimension of the polynomial ring is bigger equal to dimension A plus n. This inequality is obvious. Do it by induction. So it's enough to do it for n equal to 1. And look at the chain. If it is a chain of length r in the spectrum of A, then you extend these ideals. Extensions of the prime ideals to the polynomial ring are again prime. And at the end, I can add one more prime ideal, namely the last one, the ideal generated by the last one along with x. This is also prime ideal. The only way to check somebody the prime ideal is go mod it and check that residue class ring is an integrator. That is the only way to check. This is so the chain has extended by one more term. So that is, it has r plus 1 length. Therefore, this inequality is obvious because any chain here will get chain of length one more here. So that proves assertion for n equal to 1, and you keep doing it. So therefore, this. And I will show soon later that if A were Noetherian, then equality holds here. And That is like we have already proved the special case that A equal to field. We have proved it in earlier proposition. So we will prove this also equality when I have enough machinery in my hand. All right. Now I am recalling this transcendent degree. Should I skip these 2 pages or no? Please answer quickly.
Yes, sir.
Skip.
Yes, sir. Skip.
Is anybody else has an objection to Panashri's suggestion?
Sir, let's go through these like really
Who is saying that?
Gargi.
Gargi. Okay. So we have a field extension. A maximal algebraically independent subset S of L is called a transcendent basis of L over K. Maximal. Now, when you say maximal, means with respect to the inclusion. That means if you attach any extra element, then it becomes algebraically dependent. That means they will satisfy some polynomial equation. So, what is the equivalent? Equivalently, S is algebraically independent over K. And mind you that S, there is no reason that S is a finite set. So when do we say a finite set is algebraically independent? That means any finitely many elements from that set are algebraically independent. That means the substitution homomorphism, when you substitute variables equal to elements from this set, this is an isomorphism onto this image. And this is precisely the case of algebra of L generated by S. So if it might happen that you have a trouble with understanding this definition for infinite set, but the same thing happens in linear algebra also. When do you say a subset is linearly independent, infinite make? So same thing, you should take that as an example or specialize to finite set and understand. All right, that is first one. Second is L is algebraic over this K round bracket S. Now what is K round bracket S? This is the smallest subfield of L containing K and S. And this is precisely the quotient field of this algebra. This is the difference between the square bracket and round bracket. And please, when you write your assignment solutions, please be disciplined to this. When today morning I was browsing through some of the solutions, I was not happy for obvious reasons. All right. So simple application of the Zorn's lemma will tell you that every field extension has a transcendent basis. The maximal element, so there may be many maximal elements. Moreover, any 2 transcendent bases have the same cardinality. This also needs a proof, but that is why I underline that. For an infinite transcendent base, this is purely set theoretic argument. There is no algebra involved that. But if you deal with finite case, then actually you need to work more. And that is the finite case follows from the following exchange lemma, which is proved by induction on M. That is, if you have a field extension, these are algebraically independent, M of them, and Y1 to Yn be a transcendent basis, then M has to be less equal to N, and you can find N minus M elements from Y1 to Yn and join here, then that is a transcendent basis. This is a very important lemma. This is a similar lemma is in algebraically independent replaced by linearly independent. You prove such a lemma when you prove that any 2 bases of a vector space are equal in a finite dimension case. This is due to Steinitz. This is the beginning of algebra after Dedekind. All right, cardinality of the transcendent basis of L over K is then called a transcendent degree of L over K, and it is denoted by TR deg L over K. All right. Now, if T is a subset of L and L is KT, that is the smallest. This means what? This means it is the smallest field which contains T. Then there exists a transcendent basis of S over L, which will contain that T. In particular, if L is finitely generated field extension, that is L is generated over K by x1 to xn as a field for some x1 to xn, then the transcendent degree is finite. For example, transcendent degree of the rational function field in n variables is precisely n, and transcendent degree of the quotient field of a finite type algebra over an integral, which is an integral domain, will also be finite because it is like this. All right. So with this, now we'll go back. We'll go back to the theorem now. We'll continue our discussion about the dimension. Remember, our whole these 3 lectures are concerned with understanding the dimension of a ring, and we are specializing this to the special class of rings, which are also called geometric rings. They are finite type algebras over a field. Okay, the theorem. So K is the field, A is the K algebra, which is an integral domain. Then the transcendent degree of the quotient field is also called a transcendent degree of A over K. That is just a language, which is denoted by TR deg A over K. For example, transcendent degree of the polynomial ring in n variables is n. Now we note the following classical description of the dimension for K algebras of finite type. Theorem: K is a field, A is a K algebra of finite type, which is an integral domain. Then dimension is precisely the transcendent degree. If you remember, one of the desire that you will have so many degrees of freedom, that is this theorem. All right. So and all these, remember, all these statements we are deducing it from Noether's normalization lemma. So you can see the power of that lemma. And if you see the proof of that, it's essentially given a polynomial in n variables over a field, we can make it monic in one variable by changing the variables. Maybe linearly, may not be linear. Changing the variable means just by automorphisms. All right. So by n and L, we have F1 to Fm, which are algebraically independent over K, and A is integral over that. This is a polynomial ring. So therefore, dimension R, because this is A, dimension A equal to dimension of this because integral, and this equal to M because we proved dimension of a polynomial ring over a field in a M variables is M. But this M is precisely the transcendent degree of QA over K, which is transcendent degree of A, because look at this diagram. This is A, this is K1 to Fm, this is integral extension, this contains K, this is a quotient field of A is the integral domain. This is a quotient field of this polynomial algebra. This is a rational function field. This is integral, therefore this will be algebraic. This is a localization here, this localization here, so this is algebraic, and therefore the transcendent degree of K over QA will be equal to transcendent degree of this, because transcendent degree gets added up and transcendent degree of the algebraic extension is 0. So this transcendent degree is 0, this is M, therefore everything is clear. Shall I go on the next? Have you slept? Hello?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Shall we go on?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now there will be many corollaries. In fact, the whole thing is corollary now. Corollary. K is the field, A containing B extension of integral domains of finite type over K. Then dimension A is less equal to dimension B. I am not saying integral extension. Remember, it's an extension of integral domains. And the equality holds if and only if the field extension is algebraic. And hence finite will be clear. So look at the diagram. B contained in A, B contains A. Both these are K algebras, finite type. This is a quotient field of B. This is a quotient field of A. This is contained here. A and B are of finite type. Therefore, what does theorem say? Theorem says dimension of A equal to dimension of the transcendent degree of the quotient field. This transcendent. But this transcendent degree is less equal to this transcendent degree. That is clear because this transcendent degree is this transcendent degree plus this transcendent degree. So therefore, this is and this transcendent degree is precisely dimension by theorem. When will this be equality? This will be equality if there is equality here. But that means this transcendent degree is 0. But that means this extension is algebraic. Right? So that is what I have written. And why it is finite then? Because what are these fields? What is this QA and QB? They are A and B are finite type. Therefore, these are generated over K by finitely many elements. Therefore, they are of this type, and therefore they are algebraic. The algebraic extension of this type, which are generated over a smaller field by finitely many elements, is also finite extension one by one. All right, so that is easy. Or I can get away by saying that you should have learned this in a field theory. All right. So next corollary, if you have a field, A is the K algebra finite type, and F is an element there. If F is not in P for every minimal prime, then dimensions are equal. Proof? I have written too much actually. Proof? The map, look at the map from minimal primes to minimal primes of A localized at F. P going to localization of P at F. This map is bijection, I say. Once you note that, and also note that the quotient field of the residue field, the residue ring here, is the quotient field don't change for every P. If you note this, then start writing dimension A is the supremum of all these dimensions, A by P, P minimal. But that is now, this is transcendent degree of the quotient field, P minimal prime. But these fields are same. Therefore, this P minimal prime here. But therefore, this is again dimension. And therefore, it is this. So next, K is the field and A and A prime are K algebra the finite type.
Sir,
Yes.
sir,
Yes.
I just little bit confused. Sir, can you go to the previous slide?
Yes.
Sir, here AF is the basic open set that XF, right? On spec A level,
Yes.
topological space. And
Yes.
that open set is a dense, right? On that spec A.
Hmm.
So dense open must have same dimension with spec A, right?
But we are not. What?
Sir, dimension of that dense open set must be equal to the dimension of the whole space. So why we need that much condition that minimal spec A and those?
Then no, this is what we have. We are proving this in this particular case by using that corollary earlier.
Okay.
See, the many proofs are not. These are not the only proofs. Many proofs will have alternatives.
Okay.
But these proofs I am writing because I want to deduce it from this fact, the transcendent.
Yeah, fine, sir. Fine.
All right. So next corollary, the dimension of the tensor product. I hope you have learned tensor product in the last lecture. This is also K algebra. If A and A prime are finite type, these are also finite type. This is also finite type K algebra. Then the dimension of the tensor product equal to sum of the dimension. So let n be the dimension of A, m be the dimension of A prime. Then what does NNL say? the polynomial algebra of n variables sits inside A, and this A is integral over this. Not only that, this is a finite algebra homomorphism. Finite algebra homomorphism means this upper ring is finite over the down ring. That means finite algebra homomorphism. This one, same. This is just normalization lemma stated in this format. Now, when I do the tensor product, then this tensor this to this A tensor A prime over K. But this tensor product, you know, it will commute with the polynomial ring. So this will become polynomial ring in n plus m variables. And if both these maps are injective and the tensor product is over K, therefore this map is also injective. And because both are finite, this is also finite. And therefore integral. Therefore, these two, this ring and this tensor product will have the same dimension. So dimension of the tensor product is equal to n plus m, because this dimension is n plus m, which is dimension a plus dimension a. Very, very simple. And remember the power of that normalization lemma. And that is only the classical format I have proved it. All right, next corollary. If you have a field extension, now it may not, I am not assuming it is a finite field extension. And A is a K algebra of finite type. Then the L algebra, this Bayes change. This is a finite type. And this Bayes change has the equal dimension. Now, the only difference between this corollary and the earlier corollary is here A is also finite type. So you cannot apply this earlier corollary to prove this corollary because L may not be finite over K. So we have to have a different little argument. So again, in NL, because A is a finite type algebra over K, there is a polynomial algebra of n variables, and this map is injective and also finite map. Then the U-tensor with L over K will still remain injective. And now this is a polynomial ring over L in n variables, tensor product property. Therefore, this ring is contains this polynomial algebra. It's a L algebra, a finite L algebra, and therefore I can apply a normalization, the earlier theorem again. Polynomial ring over a field in n variables over arbitrary field is n. So therefore this.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, is it a very useful tool? Because if we suppose change some base,
Please
so
complete your sentences correctly. Is it a very useful tool? Which tool?
means if you change the base,
Huh?
that you took na A that first bracket L.
Huh?
Sir, then we can change the base to calculate the dimension. In
Yes.
previous base, maybe dimension computing may be difficult, but here maybe it is easy.
It is the same order of difficulty because you will have to find that normalization. Here also you have to find the normalization.
Okay.
You are not clear in your you are not clear what you want to ask. That is why this problem. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, sir.
Now the next. So where are you from?
Sir, I am from IIT Madras.
Okay. Oh, can you put on your video? I want to see. It is the same one who is a student of Venkata Balaji, right? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So you are a scheme theory man.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we will prove stronger. See, I want to prove statements clearly from what I proved earlier. And very clearer proofs. No hand waving. So now we will prove a stronger version of 4.3. What was 4.3? 4.3 says dimension equal to the transcendent degree for integral domains, right? I want to prove more stronger than this. So what is that stronger and precise statement is this 4.8. If K is a field, A is a K algebra of finite type, which is an integral domain, then look at the chain. And I want to assume the chain is maximal. What does that mean? That means I cannot insert anywhere any prime ideal. So it's a maximal chain. So that means, first of all, it has to go on to down to 0 because it's integral domain. And this Pn has to be maximal because otherwise I can extend, and no prime ideal I can insert in between. That is the meaning of this maximal chain. Then already n equal to dimension. So in particular, all the maximal chain will have the same length, and that length will be equal to dimension. All right, so this is stronger than that. So because it says about each chain, I think somebody asked me this question earlier.
Sir, it's I asked the question, sir.
Okay, so now it answers your question, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. We use, but we have this assumption finite type algebra over a field, and it's an integral domain. It's not arbitrary. Not for arbitrary. So we use induction on n. And n is the length of this maximal chain. So if n equal to 0, what information we have? 0 is P naught, and P naught is maximal also, because it's maximal chain. Therefore, A is a field. Therefore, dimension is 0. So that proves the assertion for n equal to 0. So induction starts. Now assume n is bigger than 1 and assume the assertion for lesser chain. Whenever I have a finite type algebra, which is a domain, and a maximal chain of lesser length, then that length will be equal to dimension. So now again, use normalization lemma. There are elements F1 to Fm, which are algebraically independent over K, and such that A is integral over R. R is this ring. This is a polynomial ring in M variables. In particular, this dimension A equal to dimension R, and dimension R equal to M. Since R is a polynomial ring, it's a UFD, unique factorization domain. Therefore, it is normal. All these exercises, either you will find in the supplement or you have learned them somewhere. And if you have not, you please look for the proofs. That is the way one should study. All right, it's a normal domain. Why I noted that is a normal domain? Because I want to apply going down theorem. So therefore, we can apply by going down. This is an integral extension. A over R is integral extension. Down ring is a normal domain. Therefore, when I contract this ideal, Q1, P1 is contracted to R. Therefore, again, 0 and P1, there won't be any, Q1, there won't be any prime ideal. Because if it does, then going down, I can lift it up and then I can insert a prime ideal in between. Where is it? If, see, I contracted here. So if there is a Q1 has codimension more than 1, that means there is a prime ideal in between 0 and that Q1. I can lift it up by going down and put that prime ideal in between here. So that will contradict the maximality of the original chain. Therefore, this Q1 is a prime ideal of codimension 1 in R. And prime ideal of height 1, codimension is height. But I would like to use my terms as codimension always. Anyway, that will remind us more geometry. So codimension 1, therefore it is principal because you are in a unique factorization domain. That is an easy thing to prove. I will leave it to you here. What is the statement? If you have a prime ideal of height 1 in a unique factorization domain, then it must be principal. It's very simple. Take any non-zero element, it's a height 1, therefore non-zero prime. So take any non-zero element in that prime ideal And this element is a product of prime elements because you are in a UFD, and each factor of that will generate a prime ideal which will be inside, and therefore height will go up. So the only way it can happen is it is generated by one element and not only one arbitrary element, one prime element. Therefore, that's it. That is a proof I told you orally. Fine. Let's continue. So this Q1, when I contracted it, it has height, it is principal. So now come back, we will draw a diagram. It's very useful to draw either a commutative diagram of rings, homomorphism, or a commutative diagram in the topology. All right, so A is here, R is here, this extension is integral. Bar is going mod P1 here. And this bar is going mod the contraction of P1, which is Q1. And this one is a principal ideal. So this is R by F. Remember, R is a polynomial linear variable. So this is polynomial linear variable modulo 1 equation. It is a hypersurface ring. And this one is this. Now in this ring, this original chain, you read mod here. So the P1 will become 0 and the P0 will disappear. This is corresponding to P1. And this is P2. And this is also proper chain because one-to-one correspondence between the prime ideals of the original ring modulo prime ideals of P1. So this is, and this is maximal because if I can insert here, then I can insert by going up also. This is precisely the fact that the correspondence between the ideals of the ring and ideals of the residue class. So this is also maximal chain in this spectrum now. And this maximal chain has length now drop n-1. Therefore, our induction hypothesis will tell n-1 equal to dimension of A bar. This is also domain. So all our assumptions are satisfied. So this is by induction hypothesis, the first equality. This is by integralness, integral homomorphism, integral extension. I pushed on by read mod P1 and the contraction, so it remains integral. And this one is a hypersurface ring. Therefore, dimension is exactly one less than the number of variables, which is m-1. So this is corollary 4.2. And hence m equal to dimension. So n equal to m. So it's a dimension. And so when you write your solutions, when you write equalities, please indicate why are the equalities. All right, and the tutor should feel happy to read your solutions. So write in that fashion. It's not difficult. You have to be disciplined because you have to go a long way. All right, next corollary. So K is the field. How much time do we have?
Sir, 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yes.
Very good. So K is a field and A is the algebra of finite type. P is a prime ideal. And if I have a chain of prime ideals which starts with P and it has length n. And suppose this chain is maximal among all chains of prime ideals which starts at P. It's not maximal in the whole spectrum, but it's maximal among all the chains which starts at P. Then this length n equal to dimension A by P, which is equal to the transcendent degree of this kappa P. And what is kappa P? Either you can think it is a residue field of this local ring, A localized at P, or it is the quotient field of this residue class domain. Both are same. This is precisely what I have learned in chapter 3 at McDonald. This is very simple. You just combine 4.8 and 4.3. 4.8 is what? This corollary, this theorem. If you have a maximal chain, then that length is the dimension. So you see, this is a maximal chain starting at P. Therefore, when you go mod P, this length will be equal to dimension of that. And this one will follow from the fact that these fields are same. Therefore, the transcendent degrees are same. And the dimension of A by P is precisely the transcendent degree of this field extension. That was precisely 4.3. So it's very easy. Next corollary. Let K be a field, A be algebra of finite type, and P and Q are two prime ideals in the ring, P contained in Q. Then all maximal chains of prime ideals which starts at P and ends at Q have the same length. And that length is nothing but dimension of this ring. This is a local domain, A localized at Q, upper one, modulo P, ideal, the extension of the ideal P to this local ring. You see, what one should think is localization will kill all the bigger prime ideals than Q. And going mod P will kill all smaller ideals than P. Therefore, this is, I have not written the proof, but it is immediate. I essentially said Q, bigger one will be killed by taking localization, and smaller ones than P will be killed by going modulo P. So therefore, this is just we follow from here. All right. So the next one. A ring with this property, 4.10, this property, a ring which has this property, that given any two prime ideal where P is contained in Q, the chains which starts at P and end at Q have the same length. If that happens in a ring, that ring is called catenary. And therefore, what we have proved in the earlier corollary is algebras of finite type over a field are catenary. And I mentioned here, there are examples of catenary rings, rings which are not catenary. But now you see, constructing an example is a tough job because we cannot go to finite type algebras. And that is our natural source of getting examples, concrete examples. Therefore, constructing such examples is not an easy task, but there are examples. I will come back to this when I have enough machinery in my hand. And this example, for example, if people are in a hurry to see, they can see in Nagata's book. Nagata has a book on local rings, where it's one of the most difficult book to read I have found on commutative algebra. But on the other hand, this book contains so much material that no other book will contain. So on one hand, reading is very, very necessary for people who are doing especially research or writing their PhD thesis in commutative algebra. They should look at Nagata at least once, if not more. I've tried to read many times. I threw it many times. Again, I came back, and again I keep doing that. So, but it is very, very important book. 4.11, next corollary. Let K be a field and A be a pure dimensional K algebra of finite type. Pure dimensional means all irreducible components of the spectrum have equal dimension. That is pure dimension. Then the dimension A equal to codimension P plus codimension P plus dimension A by P for every P in the spectrum. In particular, codimension M, I am taking M equal to P equal to M. Codimension M equal to dimension A because the dimension is 0. It's a field, therefore dimension is 0. So equality holds then. In this good case, that equality holds. That is why when people would have realized this for this particular case, which is very nice geometric case, and then in that case such a formula is true, therefore they would have started calling them codimension. But in general setup it is not correct, we have seen. So what is the geometric formulation of the above corollary? K field, a pure dimensional K algebra of finite type, then every irreducible closed subset V of the spectrum, codimension of that closed irreducible subset plus dimension of that irreducible subset equal to dimension X. That is why it is called codimension, because this nice formula holds in the nice case. So if you drop some assumption, things will obviously go wrong. And some statements will require more challenge geometry. But now the choice is the people who what do they want? I would like to prove a good theorem by remaining in a good setup, rather than proving a complicated theorem in a very arbitrary general commutative way. Now there will be many people who are also studying prime ideals in a non-commutative way. But that will not be our choice in this course. Or people will be studying rings without identity. That is also not our choice. And I would say, don't think about them right now. All right. So I think this was my last slide. If anybody has any problem, and if we still have time, we can go back. And you have a chance to ask me questions.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, please once again mention the pure dimensional definition.
Which dimensional? Pure dimensional.
Yeah, the definition.
Oh, okay. So definition is very simple, Purnashri.
Yes, sir.
Pure dimensional means all irreducible components have the same dimension.
Okay, okay, fine.
Whether it's a topological space or a ring,
Okay.
right? And now you know, but irreducible components will correspond to the minimal points.
Okay, sir.
And again, one more comment I want to make. All these statements, this is like our Indian learning. We hammer it so much on the mind that we can never forget. So this lecture and the last lecture, what is hammering? How important are finite type algebras over a field?
Yes.
And
Some of the, yeah.
We have proved one simple looking thing. Namely that the trick, that Nagata's trick of making polynomial in several variables over a field, monic in one of the variables by changing n-1 variables, right? They change it to either linear ones, or if not linear, then higher one.
Yeah.
And that is also simple change. It's not complicated change.
Yes.
Only the other variables are disturbed by using one variable only. That too by subtracting a pure monomial in that. Yes. Yes, Purnashri, you wanted to say something?
Yes, sir. Actually, I wanted to say that some of the corollaries are not true in general rings. They are only true for K algebras. Finite dimension.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes, sir.
How can they be true?
Yes, that's a comment just.
Yes. Yeah, sure. But that is where it gives us a geometry.
Yes, sir, exactly.
And K is not assumed to be algebraically closed.
Yes.
So you can still apply it to R, still apply it to Q, or a finite field. So still we have a lot of openings, and still we have a chance to construct examples. And those examples are very important. When you are able to construct those examples, they will be worth understanding. All right, anybody else? I think nobody want to ask any question. So should I be happy or unhappy? So let me pick. So still we have some time, no, Kriti?
So it's 4-5. So officially the class time is over, but the next class starts at 4:30.
Okay. So
So
let me
if
ask couple of Chitra Venugopal. Are you there? Chitra,
Yes, sir.
are you there?
Yes, sir.
Can you put on your video? Where are you from?
So I hope it is visible. I've actually put on my video. Is it visible?
Yes. Where are you from?
Sir, I'm from, so I'm basically in Kerala. I'm studying at IT Hyderabad.
IT Hyderabad. How are you feeling about the course?
So the first two lectures are fine. Like I could follow. Third one, I missed out because of some reasons. So I'm
Hmm.
trying to follow, but otherwise, the lectures can be followed, but since now onwards, both the assignments will be coming on Tuesday night, and submissions are midday, like Saturday afternoon. So that I suppose is not enough time for me. I'm finding a bit difficult, like to work out the problem. So I'm just submitting whatever I've done so that I can continue working on the problems again,
Okay.
like that. So
So first, your priority should be to understand the lecture.
yes,
And that 2 days are there. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
yeah,
And
that
then
is
you
good.
still are left with Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to submit the assignment.
So actually, it's Saturday afternoon.
Okay.
So it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then
Yeah,
like.
you have only 2 courses. You have no other. Do you have
Sorry.
some courses from your institute also?
So I'm not attending courses. It's discussions only. Yeah.
So there
Ye-
should be enough time.
Yes, yes, sir. It's actually
I think
true,
you
but
have
I'm
to-
just taking.
you
Yeah,
have
I'm
to-
taking some.
You have to make use of the time. Okay.
Yes, sir. Right.
Okay. So you have. Let me ask somebody else. Divya. Divya is there?
Yes, sir.
Divya, where are you from?
Sir, I'm from Aizam Mohali.
Hi, sir Muali. You are a colleague of Gargi, right? Hello?
Yeah, Gargidi is my senior. PhD.
Oh, she's your senior. Okay. How are the lectures?
The lectures are nice. Actually, I've done courses on competitive algebra. So the lectures are pretty good for me.
Divya, I guess you can switch off your video because this is affecting your audio.
Okay. Switch off video.
Okay.
Now tell.
Yes. So, sir, the lectures are pretty good for me because I have done some courses on competitive algebra.
Yes. So are you submitting the assignments?
Yes, sir. I have submitted last 2 assignments, but this week, actually, I have a lot of other work to do. So that's why maybe I'll submit it by tomorrow.
Okay. Are you finding them difficult?
Sir, actually, it is taking time to solve the questions. Those are not difficult problems, but yeah, it's taking time to solve all these problems.
Yeah. But that is the universal truth. No, that anything you want worthwhile, then you need to spend time.
Yeah, sir. So
All right.
actually, I'm also attending like 3 other courses, so that's why.
Okay, fine. You have to make efficient use of your time. All right. Some
Yes,
more. Some more. Anybody else want to talk? Ask. Who is Aparna? Aparna, is it there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Aparna, where are you from?
I am from Cochin University.
Cochin
Kerala.
University.
Cochin University,
Yes.
Kerala. And I'm following the lectures, but the assignments, I feel it is a little difficult because I am new to these kind of things.
So go slowly. First understand the lecture. Then
Yeah, I am able to understand the lecture.
don't look at the assignment sheet till you are satisfied with the content of the lecture and then start attempting.
Okay. I have submitted the assignments, but the answers are not complete. I have written what I tried, like
Okay.
that.
Okay, fine. All the best then.
Okay, thank you.
Now, who is Akshay? Akshay, is he there?
Yes, sir.
Where are you from, Akshay?
I am from ISO Tirupati.
ISO Tirupati. Have you done commutative algebra before?
Yes, sir. I had one course, but it did not cover 8 chapters of ATIA.
But you have not read any chapter of ATIA?
No, no. First 5 chapters.
How many? 5?
Yes, sir.
Fine, but we have not assumed 6. I have not used anything yet. So how are you finding the lectures?
Yeah, I'm reading the slides, but it's a little, some things are like little bit difficult because I have not like new method and all, and so some things are a little bit difficult, but I am reading them. Reading
Yeah,
the slides.
when you feel difficult and reading them, ask some of your colleagues which are attending this course, plus ask us, plus spend more time on that. Then you will be clear.
Yes,
But
yes.
unless you make efforts, it will be difficult then. You have to make efforts.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, I think. Who is Ayush? Ayush. Are you there or gone? Ayush. All right, I think it's enough for today. I will close down so that you have some break of some minutes, and then you'll continue your lectures with Indranath. All right, thank you very much. In case of difficulties, please don't hesitate to ask any one of us. Okay, bye.